All right, let's jump right into it. If you're a journal editor, maybe an academic author, or a publisher, you already know that getting your publication properly indexed is absolutely crucial. But there's this one specific hurdle that honestly trips up almost everyone at some point. So today, we're doing a quick explainer to totally clear up the confusion around all those different types of ISSN codes. We're going to demystify the whole ISSN portal so you can navigate it with total confidence. So picture this. You've just launched, or maybe taken over, a journal. You head over to the official ISSN portal, type in your journal's name, and hit search. You're just looking for your one single official identification number. But instead of one neat little code, you're staring at an absolute alphabet soup of different numbers. And the immediate, incredibly frustrating question that pops into your head is, wait, which one is my journal's actual real ISSN? When you run that search, you get hit with this overwhelming stack of codes. You've got an ISSN, an ISSN-L, an ISSN-H, and maybe even a p-ISSN or an e-ISSN, depending on where you're looking. Look, it is completely normal to feel confused by this stacked list of acronyms. You are definitely not alone here. But here is the single most important thing I need you to take away right from the start. These are not competing numbers. They aren't contradictory. They are literally just different ways to describe the exact same journal, just from different angles. Let's break down exactly how this works from the ground up. Section 1. What is an ISSN? The atomic unit. To make sense of the alphabet soup, we really have to start with the fundamental building block of this whole system, the plain old ISSN. So, an ISSN stands for International Standard Serial Number. Simply put, it's an 8-digit code that uniquely identifies a serial publication. And by serial, I just mean anything published over time without a planned end date. Think journals, magazines, or continuing databases. It's a standard that was originally set up way back in 1975 to help libraries, researchers, and distributors actually keep track of publications all over the world. Now, what's really fascinating here is what this number doesn't mean. An ISSN is always 2 groups of 4 characters separated by a hyphen. That very last character? It's just a check digit to prevent typos, which is why you'll sometimes see an X there. But unlike a book's ISBN, which actually has hidden codes telling you the country of publication or the specific publisher, an ISSN has absolutely no hidden meaning. It's just a dumb number. But, and this is a big but, there is one golden rule you must memorize. Every specific medium gets its own unique number. Section 2. Print versus online ISSN. Formats matter. That golden rule that every specific medium gets its own number, well, that brings us right to our very first major point of confusion. Because an ISSN is tied to the physical or digital format, a journal that exists in both print and online formats is, according to the standard anyway, 2 different versions of the same work. Therefore, it correctly gets 2 ISSNs. The print ISSN, or p-ISSN, identifies the physical printed book. The online ISSN, or e-ISSN, identifies the electronic website edition. And listen, absolutely neither one is quote-unquote more official or more real than the other. They literally just point to different formats. Let's ground this with a super concrete example. Take the made-up Journal of Open Publishing. The print edition gets assigned 2345-6780. The online edition, it gets assigned a completely different code, 2345-6799. So, if a library wants to order physical copies to put on a shelf, they use the print code. If a digital database wants to index the website, they use the online code. Simple enough, right? Except having multiple codes creates a brand new problem. Section 3. ISSN-L linking formats. The master link. If our journal has 2 different codes, and hey, maybe even a third if it was published on a CD-ROM back in the 90s, how do catalogers actually know they belong to the exact same journal? Enter the ISSN-L. The ISSN-L stands for Linking ISSN. This was introduced back in 2007 specifically to solve our multi-format problem. It is a single number chosen to group together all the medium versions of one specific work. Think of the ISSN-L like a family name. The print version and the online version, they're siblings. They have their own first names, but the ISSN-L is that family umbrella that ties those siblings together. Here's how it actually works in practice for our Journal of Open Publishing. It has its print ISSN and its online ISSN. Now, the ISSN network doesn't actually mint a brand new number for the ISSN-L. Instead, they usually just take the very first ISSN ever assigned to the journal, which in this case is the print ISSN, and they designate it as the master link. So 2345678 officially becomes the ISSN-L.
It acts as the anchor, basically telling computer systems all over the world, hey, if you are looking for this journal, regardless of what format it's in, this is your master code.
Section 4, ISSN-H, linking time, tracing history. Okay, so the ISSN-L perfectly solves the problem of multiple formats. But what happens when a journal changes its name over decades of publication? That is a totally different problem, and honestly, it requires a totally different solution. Let's look at the ISSN-H.
The ISSN-H stands for History ISSN. This is the absolute newest type of identifier. It was just finalized in the 2022 standards. While the ISSN-L links across formats, the ISSN-H links the journal's successive titles across time when it gets renamed. Now, I want to reassure you right now, this is still being actively rolled out by the ISSN International Center. So if you look up your own journal today and don't see an ISSN-H yet, do not panic. Not every journal has one assigned right now.
But let's look at why this is so incredibly necessary. Because journals change their names way more often than you'd think. Imagine a journal that started out as the Bulletin of Regional Studies. Years later, they rebrand to Regional Studies Review, and today it's called the International Review of Regional Science. Well, under the strict rules of the ISSN standard, every single time a journal changes its title, the old plain ISSN is retired and a brand new plain ISSN is triggered. This means one continuous journal could have 3, 4, or even 5 different records scattered all across the portal. That fragmented history, it's an absolute nightmare for researchers trying to track down older articles. So the ISSN-H steps in to act as an umbrella over the entire timeline. It's a newly minted cluster identifier. Actually, it often starts with the number 9, so you can easily spot it, and it links all those successive titles into one connected, unified history over time. It basically ensures the lineage of a journal is never lost in the archives.
Section 5, the big takeaway, actionable knowledge. All right, we have covered a whole lot of technical cataloging data, so let's simplify everything down into what you actually need to know moving forward.
If you remember absolutely nothing else from this explainer, I want you to burn this single concept into your memory. It's all about how these cluster identifiers function. The ISSN-L links across formats. It ties your print and online editions together right now. The ISSN-H links across time. It ties your journal's old names to its current name. See, they aren't competing with your regular ISSNs at all. They're just organizing them. And here is your highly practical, everyday rule, especially if you're running an online-only journal on a platform like, say, Open Journal Systems. When you are applying to indexing services like the Directory of Open Access Journals, or when you're registering DOIs with Crossref, the number they actually want from you is your online ISSN, your e-ISSN. Do not invent a print ISSN if you don't actually print a physical book. Just use the e-ISSN because they are indexing your digital presence. So the next time you look at the ISSN portal, you are not going to see a confusing alphabet soup anymore. You're going to see a really rich, structured map of exactly how a journal is published and how it's evolved over the years. With your newfound confidence, I highly encourage you to go check your own journal's portal record right now. Are your print and online versions properly linked with an ISSN-L? If you've changed names over the years, is your history actually preserved? Make sure your journal's full story is being told. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy publishing.